Zarello, would you start us, please?
Yes. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Here.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes, here.
Councilwoman Noack. Councilwoman Inzarella.
Here.
Councilman Lohman.
Here. Okay, we will begin this evening sitting as Board of Water Commissioners. Madam Clerk.
Number 2, we're going to do the minutes approval for the Board of Water meeting for November 6, 2018. Number 2, effective January 1st, 2019, the water rates of the Smithtown Water District and the St. James Water District will be increased to $2.25 per 1,000 gallons from the existing rate of $2.17. Number 3, 4, and 5 are transfers as per the agenda. Number 6 is a full-time appointment. Number 7, the controller to dispose of one vehicle and enter into a replacement lease. And number 8 is a transfer.
Councilman Lohman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes. Okay, we will reconvene as a town board and move to the agenda.
Under correspondence, number 1, Frank Toto Memorial Foundation 15K Run, third reading. Number 2, Rotary Club of Smithtown 26th Annual 5K Go for the Green Run, second reading. Number 3, Hop Hog Schools Spring 5K Family Fun Run, second reading. Number 4, Kings Park Parade Committee 8th Annual St. Patrick's Day Parade, second reading. Number 5, St. James Chamber of Commerce Annual St. Patrick's Day Parade, second reading. Number 6, Comac Coalition of Caring 5K, second reading. Number 7, accepting the Building Department report for October 2018. Number 8, Donald C. Monroe American Legion Post 944 Memorial Day Parade, first reading. Number 9, Sergeant John W. Cook VFW Post 395 Memorial Day Parade, first reading. Number 10, Kings Park Youth Opening Day Parade, first reading. Number 11, Lawsy Marigold Foundation, second annual Running for Our Angels 5K, first reading.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard on any of those special events? None being heard, you can proceed.
Number 3, advertise for public.
Yeah, excuse, let me, you'll have to, we apologize. We have brand new equipment installed in both Town Hall and Senior Center here, so we'll speak up as loudly as we can. If you can't hear us, let us know. We'll go as loud as we can. There's no amplification. The mics are just for the tape, for the record. All right, there's agendas out on the front too if you want to follow along. But we'll do the best we can to speak so everybody can hear us. Right, you're welcome.
So number 1, the town board to authorize the town clerk and the Planning and Community Development Department to advertise for a public hearing to be held at the Smithtown Town Hall at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, January 8, 2019, to consider the Community Development Program year 2019 and to disseminate such public notice to interested community groups.
Councilman Lohman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
Under resolutions, A, the town board, after due study and deliberation of the subject record, to issue a secret negative declaration, determination of non-significance in the following matters for reasons stated in a memorandum on the dates indicated. Number 1, in the matter of the town board's own motion to adopt the 2019 proposed capital budget and funding plan.
Councilman Lohman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
B, the town board to award the following bids and to authorize the purchase of associated goods or services. Number 1, bid 18-83 for sale of recycled materials to Gershaw Recycling Corp. Number 2, bid 18-89 for processing and recycling of yard waste to Trinity Transportation.
Councilman Lohman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
The town board to authorize the town clerk to advertise for the following bids to be returned to town hall at 11 a.m. on the dates indicated. Number 1, bid 18-91, automotive lubricants. Number 2, bid 18-96, road marking material. Number 3, bid 18-93, asphalt picked up and delivered.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy. Yes. Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
D, the town board to authorize the town clerk to issue the following permits. Number 1, to the Comac Coalition of Caring for the 8th Annual 5K Run. Number 2, to the Frank Toto Memorial Foundation for a 15K run.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy. Yes. Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
The town board to approve the following. Number 1, the minutes of the town board meeting of October 25th, 2018. Number 2, extension of bid number 16-93 for recycling of electronic waste. Number 3, town board to submit an application for municipal waste reduction and recycling project grant funding. Number 4, adoption of amended Town of Smithtown Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan. Number 5, receiver of taxes to include a levy on 2018-2019 tax bills for unpaid Suffolk County Water Authority charges against various property owners. Number 6, part-time appointment of Vincent Puzzoli Jr. to the position of Assistant Town Attorney to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Number 7, authorize the town board to accept a grant. Number 8, the Parks Department to purchase a 25-foot workboat from Munson Boats. Number 9, town attorney to enter into a stipulation of settlement or agreement and consent to the entry of an order with regard to various tax certiorari matters. Number 10, addition of Terry Iola's DVM to the town's pre-qualified professional services consultants list. Number 11, workers' compensation agreement with New York State Municipal Workers' Compensation Alliance. Number 12, the Parks Department to purchase athletic field lighting for Brady Park from Graybar Electrical Company. Number 13, copy machine disposal. Number 14, sale of surplus Parks Department vehicle to the Smithtown Historical Society. Number 15, agreement with PJT Consulting. 16, agreement with Business Automation Services. 17, town board to approve the sale of vehicles sold to the highest bidder via online auction. Number 18, town board to approve vehicles or equipment to be placed in auction. Number 19, schedule of meetings for the year 2019 as per the attached schedule. Number 20, to ratify budget modification and capital projects. Number 21 and 22 are both the sale of surplus town equipment.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
F, the town board to authorize the acceptance of the following. Number 1, accept cash in lieu of a performance bond in the amount of $5,500 posted by Gnarled Hollow Enterprises. Number 2, accept the donation from Nurture Wellbeing Chiropractic for the animal shelter. Number 3, a donation to the Senior Citizens Department from Brandling and Rick Clark in memory of Walter Thompson. Number 4, a Senior Citizen Department from Isabel Setlin. Number 5, Senior Citizen Department from the Mills Pond Club.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
G, the town board to authorize the comptroller to execute the following. Numbers 1 through 22, as per the printed agenda.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Wareheim.
Yes.
H, the town board to approve the capital budget expenditures. Numbers 2, 3, and 4 are amendments to the capital budget, And number 1 is adoption of the capital budget for 2019 to 2023.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Warehan.
Yes.
I, the town board to authorize issuance of the following bonds projected in the capital budget. Numbers 1 through 19 are serial bonds, as per the agenda.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Warehan.
Yes.
J, the town board to authorize the supervisor to execute the following on a form approved by the town attorney. Numbers 1 and 2 are municipal cooperative agreements with the Nesconset Fire Department and the St. James Fire Department for radio dispatch services. Number 3, agreement with Suffolk County for installation of a traffic signal at the intersection of Pulaski Road and Meadow Glen Road in Northport. Number 4, satisfaction of mortgage for participating home improvement clients. Number 5, a subscription with Granicus LLC for legislative management products and services.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Warehan.
Yes.
K, the town board to approve settlement in the following matters per recommendation of the town attorney. Number 1, Keith Perry versus the town of Smithtown in the amount of $1,325.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Warehan.
Yes.
L, the town board to authorize the release of the following. Number 1, Aegis Security Insurance Company bond in the amount of $276,830 posted by Eurasian Properties, and a cash deposit in the amount of $3,500.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Warehan.
Yes.
And under personnel, numbers 1 through 7 as per the printed agenda.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Warehan.
Yes.
We have two
We have two
read-ons.
read-ons.
Oh, yes, I almost... The first one is Home for the Holidays Program 2018. And the second one is a transfer for the Department of Environment and Waterways.
Councilman Lohman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack,
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy,
Yes.
Supervisor Warehan.
Yes.
And that concludes the agenda.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the agenda. Again, we're changing over equipment here, so we'd appreciate your cooperation when we go to the public speaking portion so that everybody can hear what the folks have to say. Let me begin before I read the rules and regulations here. I know there's a number of people here that are here to speak on the proposed group home that is being proposed at 27 Leslie Lane in Smithtown. The way this will work, as well as any speakers that are here for any other issue, you'll have 3 minutes at the podium to make your statement. We do have representatives from DDI, that's the agency that is proposing this group home, and board members here, along with myself. We will remain here after the public portion is finished and the meeting is closed to try to answer any questions or address any concerns you may have. And I know that DDI representatives, I already spoke to them, they will be here as well. So that's how we're going to work it tonight, and we appreciate your cooperation. The 3-minute rule will be strictly enforced. As a matter of fairness, you will have 3 minutes. When you hear the warning buzzer, that means you have 1 minute left to complete your statement. Public portion is subject to the rules of decorum that was highlighted on your speaker sheet. The public portion is for town-related matters only. And be mindful, any unsubstantiated, unverified, or material false information will be interrupted. So again, we ask for your cooperation, and we'll begin with the first speaker.
Okay. First part, Ed Martell.
Thank you, Board, for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My concerns over the group home center around the safety of the residents and the surrounding neighborhood. There's an increased number of children in the surrounding area in these homes, and a good indication can be drawn from the online reviews of DDI and their management of a home. So please allow me to read a few of these insights that we have. The group homes were the worst, and it wasn't for the clients. It was the horrible staff. They would hire anyone off the street. Managers played favorites. God knows what went on behind closed doors. I saw a lot of inappropriate things go on in front of the clients, and if you spoke up, you had a target on your back. My concern is, what credentials does DDI have for the employees that they hire? Is there adequate training, and are they well trained to handle emergent situations? The school is very understaffed, and management tends not to listen to teachers or assistants working in the classrooms. During behaviors is a very little to no support given by the management, which are the behavioral specialists. Obviously, the residents do have behavioral issues, and it needs to be cared for, and there probably needs to be quite a dialogue between the people who are on the line doing that as well as the managers. It's very disturbing to me that it sounds like both the managers and the people working together or who are in direct contact with the residents might have a disconnect there. It would behoove us as residents and a town, I believe, to address these safety matters. Also, there are a number of incident reports that are on file with the police department in the town of Smithtown that these aren't necessarily quiet homes. There are a number of homes that have had the police incidents and violence many, many times. As a safety issue for the town, for this neighborhood, for the residents, for the children in this neighborhood, I request that you give it your attention, please.
Thank you, sir.
Cindy Heimerl, I apologize if I don't pronounce your name properly.
I'd also like to address the Leslie Lane.
Bring it down.
First of all, I want to say that I grew up on a house 40 years ago on a street that had a group home. It was the best maintained house on the street. They shoveled when there was, they raked their leaves, they shoveled their snow. I don't understand the fears with that. I really don't. And I really think that a lot of this is fear-based. I'm also the mother of a 17-year-old son who has autism. And he is high-functioning. And the one thing that he said to me when we left the house, I was explaining to him why it was important for me to come tonight. And he said to me, "But Mommy, I don't understand." And I said, "What?" And he said, "I don't understand why they can't live in a neighborhood just like everybody else. Don't they have the right to do that?" A lot of wisdom from a 17-year-old kid. I heard complaints about traffic back and forth, and I can tell you, having 4 adult children, there is more cars that go in and out of my driveway all day long. I have 6 cars in my driveway. Okay, I have 4 adult children. There's more cars that go in and out of my driveway every day. I can guarantee you're not going to have drug deals coming out of this house. Okay? They are not a threat to anyone. They will be your good neighbors. And if you get a chance to know them individually, they will bless your lives. I can tell you that. I've had teachers, I've had neighbors, I've had doctors on endless saying, "I wish I had a whole room of him in my class. I wish everybody was like your son." He's the most compassionate kid I've ever met in my life. I know I have to wrap it up, but I really would challenge you all to think about what your fears are. This is not going to be something that is derogatory for a neighborhood. It's going to be something that uplifts and blesses a neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Russell Snaith. And Kathy. There's 2 names on here.
Can you say his name again?
What's the last name?
Russell Snaith.
You got the name right. Good evening, everyone. Russell Snaith, 30 Laurie Way, Hauppauge, New York.
And I'm Catherine Snaith.
Please speak up.
We are residents of the community of Hauppauge, Smithtown. Excuse me. And we're here to represent the parents' perspective. We're the parents, and our son is in a group home. He's in Miller Place. And a couple of comments I'd like to make. First thing I'd like to say is that lady that just was up here said it all. She said it all. So if you could replay that on the tape, that would be great, because that's all you need to know. The neighbors on my son's
sir.
block.
Could you just address the board? And folks, please.
Yeah, you guys need to be quiet.
Yeah,
Okay.
You'll have your chance to speak. You have to
Yeah.
address the board.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So the neighbors on the block where my son's home was, actually, there was one or two, there's always the fear mongers and the people who are afraid of the unknown, and they talk about economics and property value. The property value will be declined from the crack house around the corner or the people with the car on the front lawn and with the cinder blocks, not from this home, which will be the best maintained home on the block. But I have to tell you that there was a couple of naysayers, and you hear about this on social media. The neighbor immediately across the street came over to me when I came to visit my son and said, "Sir, I just want you to know that your son in this home is very welcome on this block. Miller Place is not about what those one or two people said." So I'm a resident of Smithtown and Hauppauge for many years, and I want to feel like what one or two people are saying here and snickering or sneering about doesn't represent what Smithtown is all about. Smithtown is a high-quality community of people who are educated, intelligent, and sensitive. And I want you to keep in mind a couple of things: diversity and inclusion and acceptance. You could be in a situation one day where you become disabled with a stroke or an accident, and all of a sudden you're looked at differently. So that you may be on the other foot very quickly. So I'm just trying to encourage people to be sensitive, open, consider inclusion and diversity. We're all people, we all deserve a good life. I don't want to talk.
I just wanted to make mention as far as DDI staff, you know, when you place your child in a home, it's probably the most devastating thing that you could actually do in your life, right up there with probably losing a parent. But I have to say, DDI staff is our extended family. So just like you would do everything with family, their staff is our extended family. And I have to give them great kudos for finding personnel who are really, really great people in the community. A lot of them have moved on to different jobs, such as police officers, nurses. You get a lot of people that are working in that field and move on. But I have to say, DDI, they find those students. A lot of them are young people. They're wonderful people, and they have such a huge heart. And we're thankful as parents for that, because without them, I don't know what we would do, really. It was our godsend, and we thank goodness for DDI. And like my husband said, my son just moved from the children's residence from Smithtown to Miller Place this past July. The stress of that is incredible. But when the neighbor across the street came out and welcomed us, I could tell you it is the most unbelievable feeling, that knowing that my son is in a neighborhood that is so welcoming. And I hope that the people of Smithtown will open up their hearts to the children coming into this residence as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for hearing us.
Tell me if there's two people.
The next person, Kunar, I can't pronounce the last name, 4 Angela Court. I apologize.
Good evening, everyone. I am Kumar, the homeowner of 4 Angela Court in St. James. My neighboring home is operating a group home at 2 Angela Court for the so-called like low IQ people, for the adults.
Put the microphone up.
No, the mics don't work. You have
the
to
mics
speak
don't
up.
work.
Speak as loudly as you can.
Yeah, they're operating one group home in 2 Angela Court. They are running the group home for the low IQ people. So they have almost 4 to 5 people living there, and with the aides, almost 10 to 15 people are always in the home. And there are almost 10 to 15 cars lying in the driveway, obstructing the cars going through that court. So as a neighbor, I have two school-going kids, elementary school-going kids. I'm more worried about the safety of my kids, because there is a lot of police activity in the midnights at 12, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. So there is a fire department coming in the nights because these people, the low IQ people, they are removing the fire alarms by themselves. So that is indicating like the safety of the concern of the home and the neighbors. And once incident that happened is they broke the glass of the window from the inside, and all the pieces are all over my lawn. Like it's a very concern to my safety of my kids, and I request you, the town, to remove the permission in keeping of all the other neighbors' safety aspects. I hope you got my point. Thank you.
Mr. Kumar, just as a point of reference, we received all those complaints. We have 3 agencies, including the Office of Mental Health. We've already notified them, so we are working on those complaints.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
John Rudden.
Good evening. I've lived in Smithtown since 1994, here with my wife and 3 sons. One of my sons has a disability. He's been with DDI since '97. We were putting him on a bus when he was 25 months old. He received services from DDI, and at that point, he was nonverbal. Today, he's going to be 25 in July. Excuse me. He's going to be 25 in July. He lives in an adult home with DDI. DDI has made all the difference in Daniel's life. His verbal skills, his ability to play the piano, he can play sports. He's won free throw contests in basketball. They have helped him achieve a lot. I don't know what reviews people are reading, but that's not DDI. The group home that Daniel lives in has quality staff. They help him, they do things with him, they bring him to recreational activities. They improve his quality of life. Daniel has been in that house for a year. He was in another house in Sayville, and the staff there were equally as good. They cared for him every day. Daniel has a seizure disorder, and on a couple of occasions experienced seizures. And the staff came to his aid and provided him the service and the assistance he needed. Took him to the emergency room, stayed with him at the emergency room. So to talk about the quality of the staff at DDI and some of these reviews, that is not my experience. I've lived probably about a half a mile from a group home in Smithtown, and I have never heard anything from the neighbors saying anything derogatory about the staff, the organization, and it's not a DDI house. This is just another organization that has a group home for people with head injuries.
20 seconds, sir.
Okay? So to continue to hold back these homes is going to force people to go into more institutionalized settings. And we don't want to go back to Willowbrook. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yvette Rem.
Sorry. Good evening. I actually live on Leslie Lane, and
Excuse
I'm
me,
not.
ma'am, you have to adjust the board.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I actually live on Leslie Lane, and I'm not too many houses away from 27 Leslie. I actually am blessed with healthy children. I have my husband who has a cousin who has autism, a high-functioning autistic child. I love Ryan. He is a very special child. He is of the utmost loving and caring of persons. If this is a house to provide the help and the quality and care and better living for children that are of autistic needs, then I'm for it. And I have children that are 6, 5, 4, and 2. I am not threatened for children that actually need this help. If there's anything that is more disturbing is that you will bring up, well, not you, I'm sorry, but people passing on information of false state, of false nature, such as being sex offenders. Like, who would stoop so low to bring that comparison of autistic children and that danger, where any person that actually has that kind of background has to register themselves anyway. So as far as my family goes, we are for this house. And I hope that Smithtown can be more inclusive and diverse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Kennedy.
Good evening, Michael Kennedy, 3 Barry Lane, Smithtown. It's with sadness that I come before the board tonight to discuss the actions of the board in the matter being addressed. You, the board, have a responsibility to do what is solely in the best interest of your constituents, us, the taxpayers of Smithtown. In this case, a certified letter was received a little over a week ago, signed by the town attorney. I would have to assume there was some sort of approval of the contents of that letter by the board, as I don't think the town attorney would take it upon himself to send it out without your approval. This letter clearly states that in order for a group home of this nature to be denied approval, an oversaturation of these homes must be proven to be in the neighborhood in question. The letter goes on to say that this is not the case, but to me it appears the town board is now done with the matter after that letter. Well, if you represent me and the others in this room, why does the letter sent by the board not address the other possible avenue for opposing this location? Does the town board even know that there's another way other than oversaturation to protest this group's home's location? Or are you not concerned, since none of you live near the property in question? The alternative not mentioned in the town board letter is to suggest another available site within the town. Was this contemplated? Was it discussed at any level? There are acres and acres of land already owned by the state in our town that for the price they're paying for one house on Amherst Lane, Leslie Lane, they could build 4 houses on land they already own. Did the town board consider this suggestion? Did the town board consider this as a suggestion of an alternate site to the state? How would we know? The taxpayers and voters who put the town board on that bench have no information about this purchase other than a registered letter from the town board saying, looks good to us, nothing we can do. There are things you can do, and you chose to do nothing, not even inform us of what's going on. How did we find out about this meeting tonight? A Newsday article, Facebook? A registered letter from the town would have been nice to at least keep us informed of what's going on. It was simple enough for the town attorney to do when the board wanted to let us know they were washing their hands of the whole thing. My concerns about the house are the same as those being expressed here tonight. My bigger concerns are trusting the town board to do what's in the best interest of the people of this town going forward. We hear all this talk about transparency. Well, this case in point was as transparent to the taxpayers of this town as a brick wall.
Rainey Tarana.
Hi, I'm reading this on behalf of resident Lynn Kelly, this letter. Dear Supervisor Weinhelm and members of the Town Board, my name is Lynn Kelly, and I live at 1283 Town Line Road, Nesconset, with my husband John and our 3 children. I'm aware that the issue before the board is a hot topic. When I was asked to represent and weigh in on this matter, it was a non-issue for me. I have a nephew, Joseph, who is developmentally disabled. Joey is a wonderful person who deserves a chance to live away from home, on his own, with others who can relate and understand him. He is self-sufficient in many ways. Just because the developmentally disabled don't possess equal capabilities as the fully able doesn't mean that they do not have many characteristics and skills that would allow them to experience life on their own. In my office, we employ 2 developmentally disabled persons, and it is endearing and satisfying to see how we function and communicate in a professional environment. Our office would not be the same without them, and I enjoy the company immensely. In my view, the world has come a long way to make great strides in being inclusive. We're constantly sharing videos and stories of fellow students, coworkers, and neighbors, sons, and daughters, these very special people are being integrated and included, and more importantly, that their differences are being celebrated. I'm sure people on Leslie Lane have even shared these stories. What are we saying about ourselves if, when the time comes for us to practice what we preach, we fail to do so? There are many ways in which the future home of these 4 people can be celebrated and included in the home life of their future community. I sincerely and fervently hope that this is the reality that comes to pass. Thank you for your time, Lynn Kelly.
Gabriela Alvanos.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me speak in front
Can
of
you
you.
speak a little louder, please?
Sure.
And could I get your address?
My address?
Yeah, your address wasn't written on the,
Oh, I'll write it. You want me to write it now or later?
no, just put it on the tape. Just mention it.
Okay, so I'm from South Setauket. South Setauket. Okay, so I've heard the concerns of the community here of alternative housing, and it sounds great if we were back in the 1960s or before that, when we were segregating our communities between black, white, and other ethnicities. But we're in 2018, and I believe everybody has the opportunity to be included regardless of your color of skin, your religion, and your neurodiversity. Everybody has different ways of expressing themselves, coping with struggles that they may have, and people with autism have a problem with sensitivity, processing disorders, which causes either stimming or not being able to cope with struggles or stresses, which is what you see the behaviors that people may not understand. So for those who don't understand it, I suggest Google and understand it, learn it, because right now you don't have somebody in your life that has this, but maybe tomorrow you will. And then you'll understand what people go through and how to help them and be able to help your community as well. It's nothing to fear. It's a matter of understanding that they're not able to express themselves the way we can, and maybe bouncing or rocking back and forth or tapping their feet. It's the same concept. It's just that they're expressing it differently. And if you understand that and trying to help them and relax or give them a hand, just like you would your friend that's having trouble because they're going through a difficult time, it's similar. It's just a matter of understanding it. I have a child who's on the spectrum. He is 5 years old right now, 6 actually, just turned 6. He was diagnosed at 2. And to me, he's he was not verbal at the time, and he has now, he can fully speak. Obviously, he's not perfect, but he's getting there.
1 minute.
And it breaks my heart to see that as he grows up and he goes into the community, that there are people out there who still don't understand what autism is and not able to accept it. So the way he is going now, he will not need a home, but for those that do need it, it breaks my heart that there aren't people there who are willing to understand it and educate themselves on the matter, to know that they're not a threat, that they're normal people just like you and me, just with different ways of coping with life skills. And I hope that you give the opportunity for these kids to live in a place where everybody else lives without segregating them like we did back in the early 1900s. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Coffey.
It seems like, to me, it seems like most people who have someone who's autistic in their lives, they feel like they're for the house. And then people who don't have people that have autistic people or people with intellectual disabilities, they're against it. Now, I've lived here for 18 years. I live in Hauppauge. I lived here for 18 years, and I'm close to where this is located. And there are 30 other homes supposedly in Smithtown as well. I have a son who's 5, and he also attended DDI in Ronkonkoma. And, you know, when I moved here, I never thought like I would have a son who had any disabilities, and life was great. I was married, I had a house, it was all good. And then, you know, I had my son, and it was not all good. And I took him to DDI, and I shudder to think what my son would be or where he would be. He's amazing right now, and he's in Hauppauge School District. He's in a special class, but they helped him speak, everything. I mean, they're amazing people. Yeah, every job, every career, profession has people that, you know, are horrible, whatever, but every profession also has people that are awesome and good. And even though there's a lot of snickering behind me with people who live in the neighborhood, and I'm sure they haven't been blessed with a child who has any disabilities, because you wouldn't be like that if you did, because you would be a little more educated and then you would understand. These are not people to be feared. These are not people who, you know, are horrible or whatever. Listen, most of these crimes committed, like the lady who buried her husband in Lake Grove, like, she's a neurotypical person. Like, a lot of murders are committed by neurotypical people. You know, I'm not saying everyone, but you know what? Like, give people a chance. I think it's the Padovan law says that these people must be allowed to live in a neighborhood just like you and me, and they should be allowed to, if they're able to live in a neighborhood just like you and me. And, you know, you can't pick your neighbors when you move into a neighborhood. You don't know who your neighbors are selling houses to, and you don't know who they are. Here, you're getting full disclosure on who's living there, what the people are like, who to complain to if there's a problem. And, you know, it's like, you can't pick your neighbors. You could have a neighbor that's on drugs and does whatever, or you could have great neighbors. But you know what? You have to give people a chance. And while the law says that they must, you know, they must be allowed to do that, maybe we could be a little more accepting and supportive and understanding, because right now with autism, it's 1 in 68 children that have autism. So my son is 5 now. So in 15, 20 years, who knows, the people that don't have kids with autism, maybe your kids have autism. Maybe their kids have autism. So maybe you should be a little more sensitive and understanding, because where are all these people going to be? They're going to be with you in your neighborhoods just like everyone else, just like the other lady was saying, black people, white people, all different kinds of things. And people should be a little more accepting and a little less critical and fearful. Thank you for your time.
Terry Manzione. Terry Manzione.
My name is Terry Manzione. I live in Glen Head. I grew up in the town of Smithtown, and I'm here today to read a letter from a resident of the town of Smithtown who does not have children with any disabilities. And her name is Patricia Spence Koch, and she lives at 63 West Main Street in Kings Park. And she says, I'm writing this letter with tremendous gratitude. I'm grateful to be raising my children in the beautiful town of Smithtown. I grew up here in the great state of New York. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak up and show my support for several young adults who do live each day with a disability, the proposed residents of the Leslie Lane Group Home. When I was a child, people who were then called retarded were mostly institutionalized. Any New Yorker who was old enough in the 1970s to listen and appreciate the news will never forget the day Geraldo Rivera stole a key, snuck into the Willowbrook State School, and showed us all pictures and videos of more than 6,000 disabled children and adults who were living in deplorable, inhumane conditions. My experience was different. My older sister was diagnosed by her pediatrician as severely retarded as a baby. My parents made sure that my sister was able to enjoy her childhood like the rest of her 3 siblings, attending school in Smithtown, later working in Smithtown, living in this great community. I would like to think that all disabled people would be treated the way my parents treated my sister, as opposed to how disabled people were treated by our society back then in institutions with deplorable conditions. It wasn't a great moment in time for our great state or the communities and citizens within it, but it was the beginning and the impetus of a great movement, a span of 4 decades of political and social change that emptied those institutions and created homes for these individuals, these human beings who deserve to be cared for and treated as such. When my children think back on their childhood and adolescence, I want them to recall a time of acceptance and compassion and humanity. I want them to remember the day when some of their neighbors objected to the Leslie Lane Group Home, perhaps because they didn't recall the history of the inhumanity. They didn't know how hard our state, its communities, and agencies like DDI worked for over 40 years, and how far our society progressed in its care of the disabled. I want my children to remember the leaders of the town of Smithtown and recall how those leaders considered the lives of our most needy citizens, embraced their differences and disabilities, and said, "Welcome home."
Jeff McNally.
Jeff McNally, 4 Amherst Lane. Unfortunately, I didn't have the benefit of receiving the letter that the gentleman in the gray sweatshirt received as far as whether or not there is an oversaturation of homes in the area. I would like to know what the definition of saturation is. It's very difficult to find research as far as what the current home status is in the town of Smithtown. I found upwards of numbers of 30, which would be approximately one house for every 3.5 square miles in the town of Smithtown. So I don't know what the definition of saturation is. In addition to that, too, to echo what I believe was what Mr. Martell said, I find it very concerning that in addition to some of the reports from former employees on different websites, my one major concern is that as recently as 2016, DDI had a manager that was actually convicted of a crime for abuse to a resident in the household. And that concerns me as a neighbor to this development. And specific to, and I understand the histories that people have given for the household, but in addition to that, there's also been some versions of that after the initial residents have come and gone, that I believe it's the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities do not announce if there's any people that do eventually move into the house that are convicted of a crime, particularly a sex crime. I have 3 children. That makes a very high concern for me. And they use the HIPAA law to protect us, saying that they don't have to notify us of that. So I understand that initially that there'll be adults that may have autism there, but my main concern is the fact that after that happens, what happens in the future? You know, as far as whether or not there are people that have a criminal history that enter that house in conjunction with the fact that there are numerous bus stops of children in that neighborhood. So I'm looking forward to the meeting afterwards to find out what the definition of saturation is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathleen Lanise.
Kathleen.
My name is Kathleen Lanise, and I live on Boxer Drive in Kings Park. Don't look at my notes so I don't forget anything. I've been a resident of Kings Park for 20 years. Throughout that whole time, we have had a group home right on the corner of my block. They are wonderful neighbors. We have never had a single issue. Before that, in the previous neighborhood that I lived in, we also had a group home within less than 2 blocks. Again, not a single problem. They were among our best neighbors. I'm a teacher, and I'm on the board of Autism Speaks Long Island. And many of you may not know, but in the next 10 years, 500,000 young men and women with autism are aging out of the educational system. Those people will all need jobs, and they will need places to live. And unfortunately, a great many of them will not be able to live independent lives. So there is a tremendous need here on Long Island for exactly this kind of housing for the very many people that unfortunately will not be able to live on their own. Parents that I know personally are forced to send their children to other states. Your kid could be 6 hours away because that's the only place there's a group home for them to live. Now, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I think we all would want to have our families close to us. So as a parent of 2 young men with autism who are both going to require assistive housing, the things that I have read opposing this home are beyond disappointing to me. They're prejudicial and they're discriminatory. The brand new rates for autism have just come out, and it's 1 in 40 children are being diagnosed with autism. They're all going to become adults. Most of you are going to have a person with autism right there on your block. Whether you do now or not, it's going to happen because 1 in 40, they're everywhere. Within 3 houses on my block, we have 3 children diagnosed with autism, none of which were there or diagnosed when anybody bought their houses. By that same logic, should we not all be allowed to stay in our homes because there's too many of them, too close for people that are uncomfortable with it? My older son, asked where I was going, and he wanted me to speak to all of you on his behalf, because if he was here, he'd speak for 20 minutes, and that's not allowed. He was very upset that people would not welcome him and his brother in the town where he's lived his whole life. He wanted me to tell you, and his words were this: it is not only ignorant, it is ableism. Those were his words. He asked me to tell everyone here that people with autism are just like everyone else, and they are not the mean ones. And they deserve to have the same chance to live life as everybody else. Thank you very much.
Gloria Groton. Gloria.
I think what I wanted to address, this gentleman here in the gray sweatshirt addressed everything. I feel like we weren't notified anything. The neighbors are very compassionate with anybody with a disability. That's not the issue. The issue where the house is in the middle of a block with a lot of children, in-ground pools that they worry that somebody gets into their yard. There's a lot of issues of extending a driveway and adding bedrooms and changing the house to accommodate. It's a splanch. It's not a ranch where it's more comfortable for people. It's just not an accessible house. And the neighbors do feel compassionate, but they feel like this is not the location. They usually have bigger houses and more land where they could be outside and enjoy themselves and not have somebody like 10 feet away from them, because that's how the house is. It's a 1/4 acre, not an acre or 2 acres. And I saw the sign is taken down. I don't know if this is a done deal and this is all just a charade, like come and you could voice your opinion, but it's pretty much a done deal. I also wanted to know what saturation means, because I've gotten many different answers from many different people here. And I'd like all those questions answered at the end of this meeting.
Paul Rosano.
I live on Angela Court in St. James, and my main question is to everybody here is, why does this meeting get to happen about Leslie Lane and no meeting took place about the home being put on our court in St. James. So that's a big concern. And we also have letters from the town stating that they didn't even know that the group home was going to be put here. So that also concerns us, and we'd like to know why the town doesn't know that. And concerning, you know, once the house is there already, it has been a nightmare with the traffic. You know, it's supposed to be non-impact to the court, and it's been a huge impact. There's been, like, I'd say 25 cars at one time, 10 cars at another time, besides the fact that there's been police activity, there's been arrests. We were told by these people that they're not violent, and there's been arrests. There's been the fire department there, sometimes twice a week, and we want to know, you know, is this safe? You know, are these people being watched? Why is the fire department being, you know, called so many times? The house has been, you know, we were told that there were small fires. If they have 25 cars of aides there, why is nobody watching them and there's small fires happening? So, you know, all these things are concerns of ours. Besides, you know, again, the parking is a huge concern. If these meetings took place before this house was in and somehow got under the table and we weren't notified, if we were notified in some sort of way, there could have been some sort of talk of parking and a way to not disturb the court the way that it's been disturbed so much. And again, we have original owners here that have been living there for 20 years, and they're not used to 25 cars parked in the court like a business, which it is a business. It's a 24-hour business. We have shifts coming at like 2 o'clock in the morning, people playing loud music. Besides the parking, they're throwing garbage all over the street, and it's like, you know, it's like we live in front of 7-Eleven now. And this is not the way our court is. People sweep the streets in front of our court. We you know, want to keep everything nice. We don't want garbage thrown all over the streets that we have to pick it up after. There's rubber gloves. We don't know what this garbage is. I don't even want to pick it up, truthfully, because I don't know what it is. And again, our main concerns aren't the people in the house.
Okay, you're gonna have to finish up.
It's the
You
people.
What you can do, sir, is stay after, we're gonna stay here. We'll have DDI come up as well. We'll attempt to answer all your questions.
DDI isn't the one running this.
Okay, well, we'll be able to answer some of the questions that you have, or at least we can ascertain answers for you.
Joe LaCarrie.
Hi, good evening. My name is Joe LaCarrie. I'm also on Angela Court, 7 Angela Court, St. James. Paul is one of my neighbors. We thought it was important to come here today and just and talk about this issue briefly. Hearing other speakers, I can't help but feel very compassionate for people that have autistic children, and you feel very bad for them, and we are compassionate about that. As Paul said, our biggest concern is not with the autistic people that are in the house. Our biggest concern is with who owns the house and who's taking care of the house, and the people that are in the house, in and out of the house on a daily basis. Right? So 10 cars, 12 cars, 14 cars. I have 3 daughters. They're older now, but they used to wait on that bus stop every day. One of my neighbors has young children. I see him drive his car down at the end of the block, and he sits there with his daughters in the car. They can't stand out on the corner because there are too many cars on the street. Now, I understand that some of this is being looked at, but my purpose is to share our discontent with what happened on our street with a group home that we weren't notified by the town, but somebody called us and let us know that they were putting in a group home. It wasn't DDI, it's family residences. And we said, all right, well, maybe it'll be okay. They're promising to take care of the property. This is a good cause, and we kind of went along with it, and we didn't think there was any avenue to fight it. And we've been very unsatisfied in the last couple of years because of the way that home has been treated. And again, it's not about the people in the house that need care. It's about all of the cars, all of the traffic, all of the workers, the fire trucks that come. It's changed our neighborhood dramatically. We live on a cul-de-sac. I've been in the home for 21 years. We're family people, pay high taxes, like a lot of people here. We're very compassionate to the needs of people that need help, but something needs to be done, and this may not be the right answer. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
John Bellawain?
It's me, John Valentine. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a neighbor of Paul and Joe, so I live on 5 Angela Court. And, geez, exactly what they all said. These homes are wonderful homes. I've lived this. I had a daughter that was in one of these homes. If you look up Angela's house, this is a residential home that is located in a community, and they take care of kids that were sick. I had a daughter that died in one of these homes. That's how sick she was. They're wonderful. Not a bad thing to say about them. It's all about location and placement of the homes, right? So it's ironic that tonight happens to be Leslie Courts, Leslie Lane. We're dealing with the same exact thing. I believe in these homes, they're great, but location and placement is key. I don't know what the layout is for the Leslie home, but ours is on a cul-de-sac. There are literally 9 houses on this cul-de-sac, and the changing of the guard is very concerning, right? So when it's a 24-hour residence, the people that are employed there come and go, and like 7 o'clock and 3 o'clock and 2 a.m. are all changing of the guards. And that's when typically the employees may be running late, and these cars come whipping in, and they spin around looking for a spot to park. And 7 o'clock happens to be the bus time, and I have young kids that are waiting at the bus stop, and it's like these cars come flying through, and they're early model vehicles, and it's, again, it's just rough. Again, it's on a cul-de-sac, and placement is the key. These buildings should be on, as all of Angela's house. I live on Angela Court. It's Angela's house. These are all residences that are on straightaways. They have great room with ample parking lots of 25 spots for people to come in and park. Because there are times where there are meetings where people come to these homes, and all the parents have to be there, and all the state employees have to be there. And 10, 15, there are 25 cars lined the cul-de-sac on those days. There are literally a maximum of 6 cars that can fit in the parking lot of this parking lot. It's a driveway, it's a house, right? They can't fit, it's ridiculous. It was such a gross miscalculation putting this in a residential cul-de-sac. Hey, solutions, relocation of it. I mean, how do you do that? You're up and everybody's out. Or a parking lot, maybe off of Lake Avenue. Maybe you come in from that route and the whole backyard becomes a big parking lot. But the way it is right now isn't going to work. You can't back out of your driveway right now because there's cars in your way. You physically I have to back in the driveway so I can pull out straight to cut through the cars that are parked there. So I'm not very good at public speaking. Apologize for the way I spoke, but that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Christina 8 Sansong Lane. I can't read the last name.
I've been a resident here for probably over 40 years, and I have to say, it disgusts me. This whole thing disgusts me. They're talking about 6 people moving into a house that have a disability. I think that's discriminatory all across the board. If you look around the room, I don't know, I could say every one of you probably knows somebody that has autism or special needs, and how dare you want to just say, well, not on my block, not in Smithtown. I mean, really, it's disgusting. You're talking 6 people in a house, 6. You tell me on your block, any one of you that have a teenager that has a party, How many people are showing up there with beer cans and you're worried about garbage and nuisance and loud noises? That's the problem.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Drug use and
Excuse me,
whatnot.
you have to address the board.
All right, whatever. You know, that's my concern. You know, people are like, well, not my backyard.
Ladies
Well,
and gentlemen, please.
you know, I've lived here too. I've been different parts of Smithtown. Trust me, I know. St. James, Smithtown. And these people, I live next door to a child with special needs. He's a wonderful boy. And I'd hate to see him be moved to another state because he can't stay with his family. That's ridiculous. All he does is we want to work. And most of these people, that's what they want to do. They want to be an active, good part of this society, not shoved to the side. Because that's what these people want. Well, not in my backyard. Give me a break. Such a good community. Show the kindness that you have.
Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. Excuse me.
I mean, really.
Please address the board, finish your
All right, I'm
statement.
gonna address the board. That woman that had
Okay,
something
I know.
to say.
We
I
took
mean,
care
give me
of
a
it.
break. Wasn't she still home with her mother? And that's another thing. I mean, you have old people. You know, they have aides that come in. Are you going to discriminate against them too now? If you have a person that's elderly has to stay in the house? I mean, that's another subject. But I'm just not going to go there. But I'm just saying, it's 6 people. 6. You're making a big stink about 6 people. And you live with them your whole life on your block. And you didn't even know. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but they weren't causing problems, I'm sure of it. Maybe an incident here and there, but it's a minuscule part of your life, really. Think about that.
Diane Duffy. Diane Duffy.
Diane Duffy. I live at 12 Storyland Road in St. James, New York. And I just have to say, I'm kind of glad I bought my house before I had my 5 kids and my 1 son with a disability, because apparently we wouldn't be welcome in the neighborhood.
Ladies and gentlemen, let her speak, please. We have to be civil here tonight, please.
We alone have 6 cars.
Tommy, she has to stop.
So to the best of my knowledge, nobody actually has the opportunity to interview somebody, a potential neighbor. Because I have to tell you, I know a lot of people, if they had that opportunity, would say no. And there's nothing to do with special needs individuals. You have sexual assailants next to people who have young children, and that's okay. I have a son who has an intellectual disability, and he and his friends, I have to tell you, are the most respectful, polite, welcoming individuals I've ever met in my life. And I have to tell you, I have numerous friends that have said to me over the years, I am so grateful to have your son in my children's life because he has made a difference to them. So I think when you're considering the people who are going to live next door to you, from my experience, this community of special needs children are probably the best neighbors anyone could ask for.
Patty Rojas.
Hello. My name is Patty Rojas. I am a former Smithtown resident, and now I'm a Hop Park resident. I am a behavioral specialist, a mom of a 12-year-old child with autism, a former agent of the State for Office of Children and Family Services, and I would like to implore upon the committee to understand, to really look at the facts, to look at the research-based facts. Both sides have very valid points. Location for a group home is imperative, especially in a cul-de-sac where that can occur. It is true. The staffing of these group homes are imperative as well, for the background checks and everything that makes them competent and capable of doing it. Things that I see that are discrepancies. This home is from DDI, Developmental Disabilities Institute, which has proven to be one of the most effective agencies on Long Island to support children with autism and other developmental disabilities. Autism is now 1 in 40. We are all here going to die, and our children will have autism. There are multiple articles saying that in 2025, you could flip a coin and you will have a child with autism. That means 50% of the population will be born on the spectrum. They will be our bosses. They will sign our retirement homes. They will be feeding us in wheelchairs. We have to have social validity and community involvement. According to the article in Newsday, November 12th, the former supervisor, Patrick Vecchio, stated that in his 40 years in Smithtown, he heard one complaint about a group home based on lawns. There is crime everywhere. The opiate use on Long Island is horrifying. And our children are using opiates and heroin and are committing petty crimes, breaking into our own homes, into our families' homes, because they're so desperate for these drugs. We have crime everywhere. But these children will become adults. Let's talk about the facts. The facts, it's 6 autistic adults who have proven to be able to be in an independent living situation with assistance. They're not criminals, they're not sexual offenders. Let's not blame sex on this. If they are sexual offenders, they have to register with the state. And then the state decides it. I agree, location, and I do agree with saturation. Let's not marginalize anyone, because we're all going to be here back at 80 years old, probably in a hospital, in a hallway, being marginalized ourselves because we don't have a voice to speak. I am a parent who became a behavioral specialist and advocate for my daughter, so my daughter doesn't have to go to an independent living program. Also, OPWDD is working to unify families because nobody wants to let go of their child. Please make a decision based on facts and research, because in 2025, 50% of the population will have autism.
Thank you.
Janine Jorgensen. Janine Jorgensen. She was the last one I know.
Okay.
Can you read that? Is it Buchanan?
7 Angela Court. We can't pronounce the name.
Can't read it.
Janine.
Okay, thank you.
7 Angela Court. We're not opposed to the people that were in the house at 2 Angela Court. We're opposed to the people that run the house. There's debris. There's 25 cars. My mom is 85. She tried to come to our house last week. She couldn't get in. She was terrified. I saw that she was stuck in the court. I had to get in the car and then drive it down. We're talking about not the people in the house, but the people that are running the house. There's loitering, loud music, skunk weed, you name it. Shouldn't be. This is a cul-de-sac. I've been here 21 years. It's very dangerous when they whip in, whip out. When there's a meeting at the house, you're talking about 40 cars. That's all the parents, all the state employees, plus the employees. So I think it has to be addressed that placement is right. John is talking about that. My daughter's a special ed teacher. She teaches the autism spectrum. I am not opposed to that. My cousin was Down syndrome. It's how the house is run. The fire department is constantly there. They blow out windows. So maybe this wasn't a right fit. And I think it has to be investigated. And again, placement is everything. I didn't think that our court was going to be like this. 10 years ago, we had another issue, but we got over that hump. We thought that this was going to be great, that they were going to take care of the lawn. We have the lady's phone number, Sheena. We're constantly calling her. And you know what? At that point, we start giving up. And we don't want to give up because we have nice 8 to 9 houses on our cul-de-sac. It's a family-oriented area, and I think that we've been left at the wasteland. Thank you.
Mitchell, 64 or 69 Leslie Lane. Sorry, I couldn't read the last name.
Okay. My name is Mitchell McDowell. I live on Leslie Lane.
Please speak a little louder, sir.
35 years I live on Leslie Lane. My house is my biggest asset. It's my savings. And I'm kind of wondering how a group home is going to affect the value and equity of my home. I've already seen the house next door went for sale to the group home. I heard the one next door is going for sale now. The one across the street now is going for sale. I have nothing against people with disabilities or that need help. It's a location issue. The house is small, the property is small, not a good area to put a group home. I saw a house for sale on Kings Park Road, all by itself, on 1.5 acres of land, for sale, which might make a much better location. I don't know how this is going to affect the value of my home. And my home is my biggest asset. And I've worked and paid a mortgage for 30 years to have this asset that I now rely on in my retirement. So I am concerned what's going to happen to the value of my home. I'm not saying anything wrong with the people trying to help other people. I agree with that. It's a location issue, it's an equity issue, and it's the value of my home issue, and I am basically concerned with myself and my income and my savings that I worked my whole life for. And I don't want to see my house that's $800,000 become $400,000. I don't want to see that. And that could very well happen. I put my house for sale. Oh, you're around the corner from the group home? Forget it. I ain't buying your house, or cut the price in half. That's what I'm concerned with. Not having group homes, not helping people. I'm not against that at all. I'm against the location, and I'm worried about the equity in my home and for the $18,000 of taxes I pay and struggle to pay every year. I don't want my investment to go down the tubes. End of story. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ron York.
Good evening. I would just like to say that I have compassion for the people who do have children with disabilities. I really don't think it's the children that we're talking about. That's not the issue tonight. I would welcome the children in my neighborhood. I live right around the corner from Leslie Lane. It's not the issue. I think the issue is more with the logistics of the support staff, okay? When you have 6 children, that's not a lot of kids. She's absolutely right, 6 kids. But now, how many staff members does that include to take care of those 6 children? Now when they shift, now you double the cars outside. Even if it is for a half an hour or 20 minutes, you're doubling the activity on the street. The children are more prone to have medical emergency, so therefore you're going to have medical personnel coming all hours of the day. It's more prone than happening to a neighbor down the street who's in good health, okay? The other thing is that I was concerned about, does DDI, are they a vendor for the state? Does the state own this house now if it gets sold to them? And if so, is the house taken off the tax rolls? And now who covers that $12,000 to $15,000 or more of taxes that was on that rolls? It's going to come to us. All right? State's not going to pay it. DDI, I don't know if they pay it or not. But we're going to get stuck with that raise. Okay? And I don't think it's fair that we get stuck with that burden. We already pay taxes through the roof here. And I don't think there's a person in this audience on either side of the aisle that would argue that fact. Okay? And again, it's not about the children. The children are great. I work with Levittown schools, and we have kids in inclusion classes, and they are fantastic kids. I love them. They're great. It's not about that. It's the logistics. And the logistics is going to handcuff the neighborhood. And I really think that you should think about that. Again, the children are not the issue here. The children are great. And even if they are even teenagers or adults, it's not about them. It's the logistics of it all. And we'd like to see if that can be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thomas Rowe.
Good evening. I came here tonight, I had no expectation of speaking before this group. But what I do want to address is the process that I'm seeing here. A process that I think could have been totally avoided tonight. About a week and a half ago, I received a flyer in my mailbox. Had no return address, addressing a whole bunch of issues. That was the first such thing that my neighbors found out about this going on, this house that was being purchased. I sent emails to Mr. Warham. I sent an email to Mr. Fitzpatrick. I received one phone call from Mr. Fitzpatrick within 24 hours, who explained to me what was going on. I received a registered letter, as many of my neighbors did, about a week ago, that had a copy of the letter from DDI informing the town. From what I've read, that's their legal obligation, is to inform the town. And it had a cover letter from the town attorney. I sent a letter to the town attorney. I sent a letter to Mr. Lassard from DDI. I haven't heard back from anybody. So the rumor, the conjecture, everything that's going around is just swirling around the neighborhood, and nobody's answering the questions. I came here tonight with the hopes that there would be a presentation from DDI informing the residents of what we can expect. I haven't seen that. I've heard comments from my neighbors, both pro and con, and truthfully, I came in here tonight with no opposition or no support. I didn't know where I stood on the matter. And I've dealt with mental health people for 40 years of my adult life. But I've never had a group home in my neighborhood, and from what I've heard with the folks from Angela Court, it gives me a lot of reservation. I think if DDI truly wanted to be a good neighbor, they would compile a fact sheet, frequently asked questions, because apparently they've had this stumbling block in front of them in the past. Send it out to the neighbors. Introduce yourself. We're proposing this in your neighborhood. We want to be a good neighbor. This is what you can expect from us. This is what you can expect from the residents. This is what you can expect from the staff. Did we receive that? No. So far, I don't see DDI being a good neighbor. And that's unfortunate, because I think if DDI had taken that step to be a good neighbor, probably half of us in this room would be home enjoying our dinner. Thank you.
Jim Brown.
Give him a call.
You just named Jim Brown, correct?
I did.
Okay, I didn't hear you. So obviously this thing's not working. Good evening, everyone. So just to start off, to let you know, I have an 11-year-old with autism, so I'll get that out of the way. So when I was 18, I joined the Marine Corps, went to the Persian Gulf. When I got home, I joined the police department. I've been doing that ever since. I've been protecting the innocent since I was 18 years old, and that's what I'm going to do here tonight. They are innocent people that have done nothing wrong. And the things that they have done wrong, by screaming and yelling and things, it's not their fault. You know whose fault it is? It's ours. Society has created autism by creating a toxic environment for babies to be brought up in. And they're exposed to that toxicity. It has damaging, everlasting effects on their brains. And you don't want them to live in your neighborhood. What can I possibly say? I have to be honest with you. I've been here for 48 years in this town, other than my time in the Marine Corps. I'm so embarrassed.
Sir, excuse me, could you address the board?
Well, I want them to hear me.
No,
I don't
they
really
can-
care if you hear me.
They
I'm
can-
embarrassed that
Excuse
you
me,
guys...
excuse me.
that I'm a part of this
Excuse
town.
me, Tommy, you're gonna have to ask him to comply.
Okay, you know what? I just walk away. I'm done. I said what I had to say. I'm embarrassed to be here tonight.
Stephanie Balducci.
Good evening, everyone. I just recently found out about this meeting for the other area, and I actually live across the street from Angela Court. And I came tonight because we were never given the opportunity to have a meeting about, what was going on with the home. We were actually very excited when we saw the home was purchased. We knew nothing or who bought the house because the house started to be cleaned up, there was construction, but we didn't know, nor do I care that it's a group home. I think it's a great thing. The problem I have is the management. I've called numerous times to the management company of this home. I have to call at least every other week in the spring and summer because the house is so overgrown, they're not taking care of it. And the other thing is the safety. I have a tendency to be coming late at night. There's been numerous times. There's people wandering the streets on Lake Avenue. There's been men in my yard. I've called management. the management of the home is not caring for the people in the home. So the people in the home I'm concerned about because there's no one managing them. The people that work at the home, I've had to call the management company that aren't there. I've come in at night, they're out, the people that work there, smoking, drinking, or whatever it may be in the court. But the people in the home are not the issue. The issue we're having is who's managing the home, and it's not being managed. Thank you.
That was the last speaker.
That's the last.
All right, that concludes the public speaking portion. I move to close the meeting.
Second. Supervisor Wareheim?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Noack?
Yes.
Councilwoman Inzarella?
Yes.
Councilman Lohman?
Yes.